Prospects must feel understood before they will consider a buying decision. People buy emotionally. They decide to buy emotionally and then justify it with the logic afterwards. They justify the emotion. Whatever caused that emotion of certainty might have been avoiding pain. It might have been trying to make more money. It might have been trying to feel protected, trying to protect their family. But they decided to take the action to buy emotionally and then justified it with the numbers afterwards. Welcome, everyone, to the Close More Sales podcast. On today's episode, we are going into the core principles that define sales mastery. If you are brand new to sales, these might feel a little over your head, but it's definitely worth listening to so you can know where you should be striving to go and what you should be trying to achieve. If you have been in sales a while, or at least consider yourself a good salesperson already, then adopting the 10 inherent truths of advanced sales mastery will be crucial to help you excel in your career and take you to the next level. These truths, these principles, if you actually embrace them, will transform your approach, helping you build stronger relationships with your prospects and make more money while working half as hard. What's the reason to listen to this show? Why listen anyway? The purpose of this show is to empower sales professionals and entrepreneurs to push themselves to grow, achieve unimaginable success without burning out, and ultimately transform their lives. I'm Ian Ross, and I am obsessed with all things sales, and I work with teams across the English-speaking world to make more money by asking better questions. The most proven path to achieving financial freedom is maximizing your earning potential, and a sales role is the lowest barrier with the highest possible ceiling for entry onto that path. Anyone can become a killer salesperson, someone who's really, really good with the right techniques, mindset, and consistency. Everything we cover on this podcast is geared toward one thing: helping you close more sales so you can live the life you want. If you would like a sheet breaking down all the things we say in a follow-up call, text follow up, 2 words, to 33777. That's FOLLOW space UP to 33777. And we'll send you a template of what to say on the phone completely for free, no strings attached. What I will do now on this episode is go through the 10 inherent truths of advanced sales mastery, which is a list I made just last week, and add some context to what it is I am talking about after each one. So I'm just going to dive straight in and we'll talk about this. Inherent truth number 1: sales is the creation of certainty, not the transference of it. It doesn't matter if we feel certain this is right for the prospect, as long as they feel certain by the end. We do not sell, we get people to sell themselves. This principle here is a really key point of everything I believe about what is effective selling. The very first time I heard someone try and describe what sales is, it was at a life insurance role where you needed to have high energy. And they said, like, sales is the transference of energy. So interesting. I have to be energetic. I have to have a lot of enthusiasm. And then I have to transfer that to be able to get them to want to buy. And then I heard someone, I didn't even know it was by accident, misspeaking, or just another way to think about it, and say sales is the transference of emotion. I like that too, because in selling life insurance, you're not selling a lot of energy necessarily. You're selling people protecting their families. When you sell life insurance, the people who buy life insurance, they don't see the benefit. Only their family does. So that's a key point there. So I'm like, I have to be energetic about when they die? It didn't quite make sense. So, all right, sales is selling emotion. It's transferring emotion. And then I heard Jordan Belfort, the Wolf of Wall Street himself, say sales is the transference of emotion, and that emotion is certainty. And I like that a lot more. That gave more explanation, more context, more color to what it is we're trying to do. We're trying to make sure the prospect is certain. We're transferring the emotion of certainty. But then I realized that's actually not quite true. That's not the real point. I came to realize that sales is not the transference of certainty, it is the creation of it. What do I mean by that? If I am not certain, or at least give off the vibe that I am not certain, in fact, I might even be skeptical, I might be hesitant to try and sell someone something, that's actually not a problem, as long as the prospect, the person I am selling to, feels certain that this is for them. This is a really important mindset shift. And different sales training programs talk about this idea. Some people call it the takeaway sale, something like that. Some people call it trying to drive some scarcity. To me, the principle is I don't have to go, you definitely need this. My principle is I want you to feel as the prospect that you definitely need this. And whatever I have to say or do, whatever emotion I have to convey, whatever words I have to, have to spill out of my mouth, as long as they're not lies, right? I'm not talking about lying. But I can go, does this even seem like this makes sense for you? That's okay. I can be hesitant as long as you are certain. And so that's an inherent truth number one towards sales mastery. You don't have to be certain. You don't have to be energetic, but your prospect has to feel certain. That's the inherent truth number one there. Sales is the creation of certainty, not the transference of it. My job is to get you to sell yourself, not try and force something down your throat. Inherent truth number two, people make decisions emotionally and justify logically afterward. Understanding this helps us tailor our approach to align with their emotional drivers. And not feeling ready to make a decision is itself a decision. Prospects must feel understood before they will consider a buying decision. First, that underlying concept that people buy emotionally. They decide to buy emotionally and then justify it with the logic afterwards. They justify the emotion. The emotion is probably certainty in some way, shape, or form. Whatever caused that emotion of certainty might have been, avoiding pain. It might have been trying to make more money. It might have been trying to feel protected, trying to protect their family. It might have been just trying to be optimistic about the future. Whatever it is, something led to that certainty. But they decided to take the action to buy emotionally and then justified it with the numbers afterwards. And if you look at your own spending history, that's so true, right? You might be convinced via an advertisement that you want a Tesla. And then afterwards, after hearing someone talk about it, after seeing the message, then you start justifying, well, then I'm going to save money with an electric vehicle. And then, it's all this money on gas. And honestly, I'm also helping the environment. That's all stuff you did after you had the emotional urge, that you talked through the idea of wanting to do it. That's true in anyone trying to make a buying decision. I also want to make sure that we embrace the idea that not making a decision is itself a decision. This isn't talked a lot about in sales training, but it's really key. It's that the prospect, if they're not willing to make a decision, that is its own form of decision. And I don't need to shout that at the prospect. I don't need to enforce my ideas onto them, but I have to know that. I have to know that I didn't create enough certainty in them if they have made the decision to remain indecisive. That's a really key point. If I want to transition you into a buying decision and not being hesitant, not being afraid to take action, you will want to feel understood. And it's my job to make sure that you feel that I understand you, I understand your concerns, I understand your aspirations, and I understand everything you were trying to achieve and what stopped you from getting it so far, so that you can trust my recommendation. If you're going to consider a buying decision with me, you're going to want to feel understood. That's inherent truth number two. Inherent truth number three. It is important to understand the why behind our prospects' decisions, as well as the emotions underneath that, to address their true motivations. Often they have deeper reasons and emotional implications underneath their initial motivation. And our job is to extract out all the consequences underneath their why. And we do this through seeking clarity and being curious at all times. Go deeper. This definitely is worth talking about a little bit more. So many sales professionals, I mean, people who are actually probably making pretty good money, still sometimes make the mistake of not really understanding someone's reason for wanting to buy whatever it is that they sell. If I don't understand your reason, I am trying to put my clothes on with my arms handcuffed behind my back. I'm always going to be at a disadvantage. I'm making it harder on myself if I don't know your reasoning. So, and oftentimes, this is another key point, even the reason that they want to buy this thing, they want to take this action, they're ready to make this decision, even that reason itself often has other emotional implications and reasons underneath it. So I can give you a perfect example, which is if I were to, let's say I was trying to, someone was switching or getting into a new career. Say someone's getting into sales. I'm literally making this up as I go. But say someone's trying to get into sales. They're interested in sales as a business opportunity. And I was someone selling them the idea of getting into sales. We don't do this currently. I talked about it last episode as a thing I'm excited about. I don't have any way to make money on that idea right now, though I'd love to, because I am basically an evangelist for having a sales job. But if I'm trying to convince you in that idea, you might have had a previous role that you got let go of, right? And you were never happy in that role before anyway. Let's say it was like an engineer role. I don't mean to be describing Steve Trang, by the way, if that's what you think of it. It's truly just made up. So if you're an engineer, let's say you're a software engineer, you don't like code, you're okay mathematically, and therefore you're like, all right, let me go down this path, but you never actually love it. And let's say you get let go. The company's doing cutbacks. You're let go. You're like, you know what? I'm going to get into sales. I know I can make even better money, and I can be more in control of my time and efforts rather than just getting paid a certain salary. I want to do this. If I were to ask you, why do you want to get into sales? The reason you might give me in this hypothetical scenario is because you got fired from your job. You need a way to replace that income in a different role. And that's true, but there might be deeper emotional implications behind that. Let's say maybe you didn't just get go from your job. Maybe you got let go 6 months ago and you've been unemployed for half a year. I could ask, you've been unemployed for half a year. If you don't mind me asking, what has that been like? Is that key, what I'm doing here? I'm going deeper. That's the end of that point of that inherent truth number 3. Go deeper. If you tell me it's been horrific, and I go, tell me more about that. I'm curious. And you tell me that you now are not feeling like you don't feel like a good husband or a good father if you're not working and providing. You feel a lack of meaning, and you feel the struggle of not making money, and your family does too, and that makes you feel bad. All right, now we've got a whole other emotion behind it. I might even ask, has your wife and family been really harsh on you about that? And you might go, no, they've been super supportive. I go, okay, but you've been feeling really bad. Does that come from a certain place? Or if there's something you think of that makes you feel that way, there's probably nothing that even comes to mind, I'm guessing. And you might tell me, well, I know that if I'm not providing for my family, if I'm not working, then my dad looking down from heaven, my dad wouldn't be happy with me. He would be judging me. And so now we've got an identity crisis as not feeling like a good husband and father and provider anymore through the deceased father looking down on you. That's a different answer than I lost my engineering job. I want to switch careers. Okay? So the why behind the initial reasoning might be, first off, so many salespeople don't even figure out that first why. They just sell the thing. But even after that why, I can go deeper. And if you go deeper, you position yourself as actually being able to solve a very profound problem for them, which is the emotional implications, the reasoning underneath and behind that. The deeper you can go, the more effective you will be when selling to them, when selling to their needs, because people buy emotionally and justify logically. Inherent truth number 4. Sales resistance comes from feeling pushed, ignored, or misunderstood. We prescribe solutions without seeming pushy, acknowledge what they said so they don't feel ignored, and seek clarity on what's important to them so that they feel truly understood. So many salespeople think that someone is resistant to them, resistant to some aspect of their process because they don't have the money. They think they're resistant to them because they don't like salespeople. Both of those things might be true, but the reason they feel that way right then and there is not actually just because they don't have the money, and it's not because they don't like salespeople as a whole. It might be because since they don't have the money, they're worried that you're going to push them into something that they're going to spend money on that makes them nervous because they're already lacking money to begin with, right? They don't like salespeople because in the past they had negative experiences because those salespeople didn't listen and respond to what they said. They made them feel ignored and misunderstood. They pushed them into a thing they didn't like. It's the emotional reasoning behind it. And so as long as the prospect, the lead, is actually a lead, is actually worth talking to, is worth having a conversation with, they are qualified enough to justify your time, their resistance to going through your process comes from feeling pushed, ignored, or misunderstood. So we are always doing our very best as we move through our process, as we ask questions, as we recap back certain things they had said, as we go for the close. That does not do any of those things. I never want you to feel pushed. You should never feel ignored. And by golly, you better understand that I truly understand you and your pain and your aspirations, let alone feel misunderstood. That's really key. Inherent truth number 5. Real rapport is trust, not just likability. And we build trust incrementally through questions and recapping statements to show that we understand them. Shared interests and background are not as important as believing your advice can be trusted. So many people, when they first get into sales, start focusing heavily on these two different ends of like the pendulum or something. They focus either on the objections to go for the close or the rapport building phase. If we're focusing on the rapport building part, there's a real interesting distinction I want to make between just being friendly, being pleasant, and the type of rapport that allows them to want to trust you with their money, with their purchase, with guiding them through a decision. And that is not likability. It is trust. It's the idea of having a great doctor, an amazing surgeon who you can trust their diagnosis. You understand the process. You understand everything they did to determine what is wrong with you, what is your diagnosis. They've tried some things and they tell you why they didn't work and what they've done to try and fix it before they recommend the surgery. If I can believe that you are trustworthy as a professional, if I believe it to my core, then I am therefore able to take your advice and suggestion about what it is you are trying to prescribe. And in the idea of trying to prescribe certain solutions and fix the problem as a sales professional, I want to be in pursuit of the right type of rapport, which is trust. Being friendly, having shared interest and background is not bad. If every single possible thing was equal, I would rather go with someone who I also liked. But someone who I like is not the same as someone who I trust. And so if your focus is trying to be liked, you are trying to do the wrong thing. The goal should be trust, building trust. And trust is built incrementally. You can't snap your fingers and be from the same hometown and like the same sports team and have the same hobby and have trust. That might mean, oh my gosh, you're from my hometown? Oh, I suddenly feel like I like you more. That's not the same as trust, which is what we want to be in pursuit of. So understand the difference that real rapport is built incrementally. It's not just built at the start so that they like you and now they want to do business with you. People do business with people they trust. The liking is just sort of a peripheral idea that's pleasant to have. It's not bad, but it's not worthy of being in pursuit of over trust. That's what we want to keep in mind. Inherent truth Number 6, it is better for your prospect to verbalize what's important to them than for them to agree with you when you say it. Effective questioning is more powerful than presenting information. If we say it, it's salespeople talk. If they say it, it's gospel. This comes down to another problem that so many people in sales have, which is this idea of, I tried to tell them, I tried to explain to them, I tried to tell them how great this thing was, I explained to them that that won't fix their problem, blah, blah, blah. I talked at them. If you can turn the talking at into a question about blank, you will have a far better time getting someone across the line, because people are on guard around salespeople. And so they inherently, even as you're building trust incrementally, don't just trust you when you say it, because they know how the world works, that you are incentivized for them to believe what you say. But if I ask the right question and you say it, now that's reality. So I always want to be in pursuit of you telling me something is important to you, rather than asking, this is important to you, right? This blank is important to you, correct, is always inferior to what's important to you. Do you feel like it's this or this? Or do you have something else entirely in mind? And then if you, as the prospect, verbalize it, I will always have a better time leaning on that over and over again as I move you through the sale than just getting you to say, yep, that's important to me. This is something to just never, ever, ever forget. It's just true in persuasion in general. If the person you are trying to persuade verbalizes it, now that's reality. If I just told them, it's never as effective. Inherent truth number 7, the order and timing of questions matter. Asking the right questions in the right order is crucial to guiding the conversation and uncovering the true motivations and objections of the prospect. We only ask close-ended questions strategically to maintain engagement. This comes very much behind my idea of the vivid selling framework, which is just oriented around what questions to ask in what order so that someone feels like it's their decision. That's the idea there. So I don't start with these deep, tough questions right away, because that's not an effective order. I want to start with easier questions so you get in the mode of answering questions, not in the yes stack that sales trainers talk about, not that they say yes 7 times and now you can go for the close. But I want you to get used to the idea that I'm seeking clarity and being curious and asking you questions and trying to get you to tell me what's important to you. And the way to do that is to start with easier questions to get into that mode. If I can start with the easier oriented questions to then get you answering the harder ones later, that's really key. And there's other levels besides just easy and hard. There's also including more aspects of emotional implications with questions over time. I don't want to start with an emotional question. If you can imagine, you're talking to a guy who doesn't trust salespeople. It's your first time speaking to him. And, he's sitting back, arms crossed like this, and he's not looking thrilled that you're in his home having the conversation with him. And you ask him, how does it make you feel to do that? Or how does it make you feel that I'm here now? The guy's like, dude, what are you asking me? That's crazy. But if I start with what were you hoping to get out of today? And he tells me, I just wanted to get a quote on something. Okay, gotcha. Tell me a little bit more about what you have going on. And they start revealing stuff over time. And I ask more questions. And then he reveals some type of need or pain, reveals something that I then can ask about. I can go, okay, wow, you said it's been 20 years since you replaced your roof. I'm guessing this hasn't been a priority because you've had such a great roof this whole time. That's right. Yeah. And also, money's tight, so I don't necessarily want to spend money unnecessarily until I actually need it. Okay. When you say money's tight, has that been going on a while, or is that a more recent thing? Right? An easier question. Now they start revealing to me more, and I can go deeper. I don't start with how does it feel that money's tight. I get to that incrementally. The order of questions matters to guide the emotions correctly. Inherent truth number 8. The ideal order of emotions in a sales conversation is gain to pain to pen. So start with gain, make it easy to answer, and also to identify their goals. Transition to pain to highlight challenges and then get them emotional. And move to pen when that emotion creates enough certainty to feel like it's their decision. Gain to pain to pen is the ideal emotional trajectory. Different products and services lean on different aspects of emotion to get someone to make a decision, of course. But the general trajectory that I have seen time and again across industries, across B2C, B2B, across selling insurance, selling something for the home, buying someone's home, selling a high-ticket item online, selling real estate, selling a tech product that I've seen throughout talking to business owners and moms and athletes and all this stuff that I've seen is talking about what they're hoping to gain at the start, going into the emotional challenges of trying to get that thing or what's been going on for them. And then once that negative emotion is stoked appropriately, that they feel a level of certainty, we go towards trying to get them to make their own decision. That's the natural trajectory. And that leads me to inherent truth number 9, which is key here, and why it's gain to pain to pen and not pain to gain to pen. Inherent truth number 9, loss aversion, which is a type of pain, will always inspire more action than making additional money, which is a type of gain. So we can take away the gain, the prospect of verbalized, as a new pain before asking for their decision. This will help create urgency to make a change now. And this is why it's gain to pain to pen as the trajectory. Because someone can think something that you're trying to sell is super valuable. They can think it will be amazing, great deal, everything's great. Like, I love this idea. I'm totally sold on it. But if there's no pain, if there's no loss aversion, if there's no scarcity, if there's no something there, there's no urgency. Pain causes urgency, or at least the avoidance of pain means you want to make the decision, and you want to make the decision now, which is a ideal process, because if anyone who's been in sales long enough knows, if you can be talking to someone and they are they're stoked, they're excited, they want this thing, they're on board, I can't wait, I got to move some money around, I got to just run it by my wife, whatever it is, I just got to check a box, whatever. If they're ready to do it and they can't wait to get started, but they're pushing off for just a time delay, what happens is that emotion fades a little bit over time. And by the pure nature of elongating the decision-making process, the value doesn't cause urgency. And so if you're making it take longer than necessary, I'm not saying force someone to make a decision now if they absolutely cannot, but if you make it take longer than necessary, or don't help the prospect make the decision as quick as they comfortably can, you are running a substandard process. It's suboptimal, because what's going to happen is naturally with the elongation of the process, the reason they want to do this, things are going to fall through. They see a different offer. They go with a competitor. Something changes in their life where now they no longer need this or can no longer afford this or want to spend the amount. Something happens with extending out time. So I don't want to end on gain. I want to end on pain, because that will cause more urgency. And in terms of the idea of taking the gain that the prospect verbalized away, I'll illustrate this through another sort of self-role play example here. But I love this principle here, because so many people that I talk to for the things I'm selling, they don't have massive pain right now. They're already doing pretty well. So if someone's already doing pretty well, you can say, well, they're not in agony. They're not in pain. What pain can I talk about? If you do this in the right order, the new gain they would have from taking whatever action with you that they want, or that you're trying to get them to take, rather, the new gain, you can then take that away and make there be a pain associated with indecision. So to self role play with myself off the top of my dome, to give context here, if I'm selling some program that's going to help you start your own business or something, and then I ask you like, okay, you were trying to start the business that does this, and how much have you seen that people can be making in like the first couple of years with that business? And someone goes, oh, I mean, if I do this right, I could make $500,000 the first year. Wow, that's great. How different is that from what you're making right now? That's pretty different. Okay, tell me more about that. Let me talk more about that. Say it's 400, maybe they're making 100 grand right now. So they're not in agony, they're not in poverty, but it's not $500,000 a year. And so there's, okay, wow, so if you do this, you could be making $400,000 more a year. What would you be doing with that type of money? And they tell me, well, now I'm taking my family on vacation more often. We're going on extravagant trips. Everyone's flying first class. I would also reinvest it back into my business. Maybe I'd buy some real estate, have some rentals. Now we can start going to that. What vacations did you want to go to? Gotcha. Okay, you've never been to Thailand. You want to fly your family on a private jet to Thailand and give them that experience. That sounds amazing. What would you be doing with that money you reinvested into your business? Oh, you'd be spending even more on marketing so you could get more customers. If you were spending a significant amount of that into marketing every year, do you feel like your results would compound? You'd be making even more in 5 years. Oh my gosh, you'd be making $5 million in 5 years, which is $4,900,000 different from what you're making right now. Okay, if you don't mind me asking, if nothing changes and you're missing out in 5 years on $4,900,000 a year, if we even cut that in half, let's say we're being too optimistic, let's cut it in half. You're missing out on an extra $2,400,000 a year 5 years from now. How do you feel we should prioritize getting your business started? I've created a new pain, a loss associated with the gain that they verbalized. This is the idea here about that. So that's the point of gain to pain to pen. That loss aversion causes more urgency. So end in that way to get them to go to pen. That's a quick little concept there. Inherent truth number 10, the final one, and this underlies everything that I do. The goal is to be intentional with everything we say and do. We don't ask a question or use a tactic just because we felt like it. There should be a reason for every action. I talked about this a few episodes ago, that to me, one of the few things I would prescribe to every sales professional is to be intentional with what they say and do, with what they say, how it, how their process goes, with their follow-up sequences, with how they present new information, with how they ask questions. Be intentional. Don't do things by accident. This should underline your professional life. Be intentional so that you can be successful. Making mistakes and stumbling your way into success, that's for lottery winners, okay? Or people who won the genetic lottery and inherited a bunch of money. If you don't have super rich parents and you're not counting on playing the lottery as the way to make your wealth, you should be intentional. This is all these tactics, everything I did, even in these mini little role plays, there's reasons behind the tiny little things I did beyond that I'm even going through here. Be intentional to be successful. Have a purpose behind your action. Have a purpose behind how you asked a question, behind how you sounded when you asked that question. Don't do it just because you feel like it. Have a reason for trying to do it, for trying a tactic, for trying a technique, for pushing past that no, for giving up when you gave up. Have a reason for it, and you will find success. If you can actually embrace these 10 things, I promise you, it'll be incredible for your business, for what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. To wrap up here, if you've made it this far, if you've gone through these concepts here, these principles that I teach about and coach about, that I try and live by as a sales professional, chances are you do see the value in this way of thinking about sales. But all I really went over here, this was very surface level, was sort of the what and the why of these inherent truths. If this is something you want to learn how to actually understand the how to do this, and are interested in learning about the Advanced Sales Mastery Program, text CLOSE to 33777 to see if you even qualify for what we're offering now, because we just don't accept anyone just because you can swipe a credit card. The goal is to take good salespeople and turn them into absolute assassins who can embrace everything I just talked about, who can be intentional. If you think you're already good, maybe even better than good, and you want to join the top 1% of sales professionals, of people who can actually make money at will, then this might be for you. I'm Ian Ross. This has been the Close More Sales Podcast.